Hey, Des from Aro-Tarot here, and this is my O.W.L Readathon TBR. So yeah, since now I'm watching BookTube, I have now become aware of the Magical Readathon that was started last year, and gosh darn, it seems like a lot of fun. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna join in on this year because now I'm reading a bunch, and so let's do this. So yeah, this is pretty much gonna be my TBR for the month. So anyway, yeah, obviously the links for the announcement video will be in the description, along with all the books that I'm listing, their author names, and then also links to the Goodreads pages for these books. So, what job did you choose, Des? What career? It was actually a bit difficult at first because some of them seemed like really interesting. Like, Cursebreaker sounded interesting, but I'm like, that don't sound like something I'd actually want, though. That just sounds cool. There was writer, and I'm like, me? But at the same time, like, is there any other ones? Seer, I was like, literally me? But let's not go seer because, like, literally I already do that. Like, I'm already, you know, flinging those cards. I just, literally, this has been a very, very long break, and I'm trying to I'll get back to it, into it on April, but I figured, let's go with something else. Let's go with something else. So yeah, like, I was just, what job? So, I finally settled on one that apparently is, like, the popular choice right now, and that's librarian. It just seems fun, like, key traits, knowledgeable. I like to think I'm knowledgeable. Brave. That's not me, but maybe if I had magic, I'd be brave. I don't know, I'm not that brave. I like to avoid situations like that. Adventurous. My palette is very adventurous, so I have that. And resourceful. I imagine that I'm resourceful. I like to think outside of the box, so there is that. So, yeah, like, this, like, literally the description is like that movie, The Librarian, and I was like, that sounds amazing, like, let's do it. So, yeah, I chose librarian. So, the Pacific Owls that I'll have to be getting, which these are the books that I'm prioritizing on the list. I've picked out books for every single one. It was a bit hard because a lot of the books that I actually wanted to read in April, there's quite a few that actually can overlap. I could use multiple ones for different ones, but I'm setting it in stone, so I have, like, one per, and even then I could have flip-flopped one or two of them, but I was like, no, these are going to be the ones. It's going to be like this. Makes it easier for me to prioritize which of the owls that I have to get. So, yeah, so the Pacific Owls I have to get is I have to get Ancient Runes, Arithmancy, Defense Against the Dark Arts, History of Magic, and Transfiguration. So like I said, I'm actually going to try to read all 12 books. Since most of the books that I actually wanted to read in April actually do fit one of these categories, there are a few books that I needed to add in, obviously. So now I have, like, my normal TBR, this, and it's going to be a lot of books. I don't think I'll read that many. I want to read that many. Will I read that many? Who knows? I'm gonna have an overload of words, aren't I? At the end of this, I'm just gonna be like, words, no more, stop. But, yeah, I'm gonna try to read that many. I imagine my goal is gonna be to pretty much read, like, I don't know, like, a book every 2 to 3 days. I mean, usually, if I'm reading a book, it usually takes 2 to 3 days, unless I'm busy that day, and then it might go to a little bit more. Or I'm just not in the mood to read, so I'm going to try to, like, I'm pumped about the books that I want to read, so I'm hoping that that'll just, like, push me in, and I do have some graphic novels in here as well, and a manga, so that should help me for, like, when I feel like I'm reading too much, because then I have pictures. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to go alphabetically. I'll point out when it's you know, one of the ones that I have to read. So I'll point those ones out, and I'll point them out if it's just one of the bonus classes I'm gonna try for. And yeah, so the first one, which is a required class, is Ancient Runes, and that is to read a retelling. And honestly, one of the books I wanted to read next month is a retelling, but it also fits like 3 of the categories, so I put that one in the one that was the only book out of the ones that I have or want to read that work in that one. So I added one to my April TBR to fit this one, and I chose to read Lost Boy, The True Story of Captain Hook. This book, and along with like the other ones by this author, are always like behind me from whenever I'm like looking at the Pacific shelf in the bookstore that I usually look at when I'm looking for adult fantasy and sci-fi. These are like always behind me, so I've been eyeing them for a while. So I decided, you know what, they're retellings. This would be a great opportunity to see how like this author's writing style is, and to see if I like it, because I do like the darker kind of aspects of these, because they're like kind of horror. They're supposed to be like darker retellings, so I'm kind of really up for this. So basically, Lost Boy, if you couldn't freaking tell, is a Peter Pan retelling about Captain Hook and like how he came to be Captain Hook, and kind of like this thing about like Peter Pan's a liar, so like I'm really curious to see how this all goes. It's also not like really long either. It's less than 300 pages if I remember correctly, so that's definitely going to help me to try to get to all the books that I want to read this month. So for the next OWL is another one that I have to take, and it's Arithmancy. And this one is enough, like, just like I said with the one with the retelling, this one's also retelling. And there's also another book that you'll see that fits the retelling, the work's written by more than one author and takes place in the future. That book's going to eventually come up, and it's very similar to the one that I'm about to show you now. But this one worked best to fit into this category, so I could have that book in that category, and everything will work out great. So, for this one, I decided to reread, because this is a reread for me, The Once and Future Queen. It has 2 creators, Knave and Kirkbride, so that works. And then, of course, there is also the artist, Brokenshire, and then the lettering and design by Vekovic? I'm not sure how you pronounce, like, CVs. So, I'm terrible at pronouncing things. I don't know anything. But I got this, I think around when it was put into the graphic novel format. It was supposed to be a comic book series, and they turned into like a graphic novel format. I know there's a second one out. I need to get it. It came out last year. Then I haven't seen any news about it being canceled or anything. So I don't know if they will eventually make a third one or not. So I would hope. I mean, like, this was really good. I really liked it. And if you couldn't tell from the cover and the title, this is a Arthurian retelling. So you have Ronnie, and literally the last name is Arturus, Ronnie Arturus, and she is the next one. She finds the sword, she pulls it out of the sword while she's in the UK on a chess championship because she plays chess. And she pulls the sword. Merlin appears. He wears a spacesuit. It's kind of weird. I kind of really like it. With the help of her, her version of Gwen, and then Lance, which is, the version of Lancelot. She's fighting against fairies. They're trying to take over, like, our realm. So I know Morgana's in this as well. It was really cool. It's also really cool to see a diverse cast. Diverse, like, race-wise and sexuality-wise. Also, it has a polyamorous relationship as well, and, like, it's the representation of that's really good. And I just thought the whole thing was just, like, really fun, too. So, I'm going to be rereading this, so all my graphic novels and manga are going to be great for when I feel, like, a little bit of overload, because 12 books is a lot, especially when you already want to read some other things as well. Curse the fact that I really want to continue on with the 3 Dark Crowns series and read the 3rd book, and also read Baker Thief as well on my own. So, yeah, this is my Arithmancy choice. So we have Astronomy next, and this is not a required OWL to take for me. This is probably the last one I'll get to, and this is only if I get to it, since this is actually a reread for me. I have 2 books with star in the title on me. I didn't want to, like, pull out completely, like, a whole nother book, find another book, because I already had to find books for, you know, the retelling, and I also needed to find a book and check out one for Defense Against the Dark Arts. Since this is a bonus class, I kind of just wanted to maybe choose either my one tarot guidebook that I have, which would be a nice, just break from stories at least. And then there's reading one that I've already read. So I decided to go with that option. And so if I get to the Astronomy OWL, I will read The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I read this, I think it was before the movie came out. I can't remember if the movie had just been announced. I don't think the trailers were out just yet. I think I read it like maybe like a whole like season before the movie came out, because I remembered what happened in the book when I watched it, but I couldn't remember like every single detail at that point. Especially since I watched it with... Did I watch this with my Nana? Did my Nana read this? I don't know why. For some reason, I think I watched this with my Nana, and my Nana was like, oh, like, well, I kind of like this part better in the book and stuff, because I think I also saw this with my brother, too. And now I'm confused. Did my Nana read this, or did my brother read this? I don't even know, but I just remember it was fun. I did really like the book. The only thing I didn't like was, the end. Not the sad ending, if you... Literally everyone knows what The Fault in Our Stars is. Not like the whole sad part of the ending. I didn't like the after part. I kind of thought the movie did it better and kind of cut it off. So that's probably the only part that I'm not looking forward to by reading the book. But I haven't read this in so long that I thought it would be kind of nice to just reread it, since I did really like it. So yeah, it's my Astronomy choice. Okay, so the next OWL is Care of Magical Creatures, and this is to read a book with a land animal on the cover. And this is, like, another one of the books that, like, there are 3 books besides those ones that I mentioned, and all 3 of these books kind of could have been swapped almost with each other. I just decided to kind of put them in this order, because why not? So, for this one, I decided to read the Tea Dragon Society. Like, not all the dragons actually have wings. A lot of them are, ground animals. So, like you see, that one has wings, although it's walking because they're very small wings. And then these 2 also have wings as well. And, yeah, so there's this one. This one also could have worked for Herbology. And I have another book that also could have worked for Care of Magical Creatures, but I just kind of decided to put them in this order for some reason. But, yeah, this one is just, like, a really cute, it's very short. This is the Owl Crate edition that came in the February box. And I keep meaning to pick it up, but, like, I kept not putting it on my TBR / giving myself enough space to actually write about it in my old reading journal. So, yeah, I'm gonna get to it this month. I'm finally gonna get to it, and I'm gonna love it because it's adorable. So, yeah, it's about tea and dragons, and the dragons help make the tea. Like, the tea kind of comes from the dragons, and, like, there's memories and feelings, and it's gonna be a fun ride. Okay, so then we have Charms, which is to read an adult work. And based on how I usually do my TBRs and my system for that TBRs, there's actually 2 books that I was going to read in April that I kind of have to read because that's the TBR system that I've chosen with my box of mystery. I pulled these 2 books and they are both adult books. So, yeah, I'll be reading 2, but the one that I have under my OWL crate, but the one that I have under, like, my Goodreads, like, OWL TBR listing is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. I'm not really into horror, like, at all, unless it's psychological horror. I love psychological horror, like, that's cool. But I'm not really into horror as a genre because it bores me. I don't really find it scary. It's usually just the same stuff over and over again. And then there's gore. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, I literally, my dad's like, are you even my kid? It's always that kind of thing, like, you look just like me, but how could you not like horror stuff? Because my dad loves horror movies, and he does special effects makeup in, like, the movies that get filmed around here, and I don't like any of that. However, this one seems like it's going to be really cool. I'm really interested in, like, the whole synopsis. Essentially, before they were trying to film one of the, the fake documentaries, and the crew, they went missing. Like, the boat was never found, the crew was never found, so now there's a new team and a new ship, and they're gonna go find out what happened. The main character's trying to figure out what happened to her sister. Some of them are there to, like, prove their, like, lifelong series right. Some of them are there to find, like, what happened. And essentially, this is supposed to have killer mermaids. And honestly, that sounds great. Like, I believe they're called sirens in the book, though, but, killer mermaids. So, killer sirens. I'm all up for this. It sounds like it'll be really interesting, so this is my adult read. Okay, so the next OWL that is required of me is Defense Against the Dark Arts, which that is to pick a book that starts with the letter R. I wasn't looking at books that have the and then a word that starts with the letter R. I didn't think to do that. But out of, like, the 160 books on, like, Libby that I was like, I would like to check these out. Or, I have all these on hold. There's, like, 160 books amongst those two. I only had, like, 3 that started with the letter R. And I did see some people were choosing Running with Lions, if I remember that's the title. Always makes me think of, like, the All Time Low song. And then there was also Radio Silence, which that one's a little bit longer. And then the one that I chose, Red Rising, and this finally gives me the incentive to, like, pick this up because I've actually been wanting to read this. I didn't know what it was about. The only thing I've known about this book since before I checked it out was it's a sci-fi, it's a series, and it's supposed to be really good. And yeah, it seems like it's going to be really good. Essentially, this is about Darrow, and he lives on Mars, and he's like the lowest part of the chase system. And they've kind of been told all their lives that they are working on making Mars habitable. And then they found out it's all a lie. They've pretty much just been working for these people for free as essentially like slaves. And literally there are towns, there are parts, there are cities all up on Mars, and they didn't know about it. So he's going to join the tournament that happens in which the higher-ups kind of determine like who's going to be like in charge and that kind of thing. And he is going to essentially kind of become one of them in order to stop them, and he's got to participate in this. So it's kind of like as the blurb says on top, Ender, Katniss, and now Darrow. So it's kind of like that kind of thing. And honestly, I feel like that'd be really cool. Like, it sounds like it'll be really interesting. I didn't even know that it takes place on Mars. So, yeah. Now I've read the synopsis, and now I actually am kind of really happy that I decided to check out this book for this class. Why didn't I read you sooner? I don't know. So, yeah, that is my Defense Against the Dark Arts pick. Okay, so for the next OWL, it's Divination, and this is another bonus one I'll be taking, although I'm definitely doing this OWL because this is a book that I've been wanting to read. I had it on pre-order, and now I have it, and I keep going like, I want to pick it up, but I gotta wait. I gotta wait till April. So, yeah, you'll probably recognize why Once and Future Queen came on this list, because Once and Future, it's come out, I have it, I pre-ordered it, so it came the day that it came out, and I'm really excited to get into it. This was the one that I could have put in a few categories because it's got more than one author, it takes place in the future, and it's retelling. So I put this in the Divination category because that's how everything works out. And I don't know, I'm still gonna I'm reading this, like, this is probably, you haven't even finished all your OWLs yet, and you're already doing one of your bonus ones, like, and I'll be like, duh, this is amazing, that's why. The book's also not too long. It's 300 and, I always forget how many pages, 348? No, 349. It's 349 pages long. The font's a little bit on the bigger side, too, so, and I've heard that the story's fast-paced, so I imagine it won't take me too long to read this. But I've been, like, excited for this. This is obviously, if you couldn't tell, it's another Arthurian retelling. And it's another one where The new reincarnation of Arthur is also a girl in this one. Her name is Ari, and this takes place in the future. She is the 42nd reincarnation of King Arthur, and Merlin's gonna try to help her to, use her powers now for good, but she kind of just wants to destroy the Mercer Corporation, which is a tyrannical, the tyrant, so tyrannical corporation, and that's pretty much her goal. I know Merlin, he's a cranky wizard. He's not old though, because with every single reincarnation he keeps getting aged down, so now he's a teenager. And this book has a lot of representation in it. Like it's literally it's gays in space. But like there's like a non-binary character in it. The main character, she's Pan. Obviously, we're gonna have some a woman-loving woman. Like give us that women-loving women, like, that's gonna be great to see that, 'cause obviously Ari's gonna have her Gwen, because, like, you can't have Arthur without Gwen, obviously. I know Merlin's also gay, like, there's a lot of, like, representation here, obviously, I mean, like, literally considering who the writers are, makes sense, and obviously, like, I'm here for this, but, like, literally, like, I'm so excited to get into this, it's gonna be amazing, like, yes, like, oh, can I just read it now? I can't, but, like, I want to. Des, you're already reading some books, like, I know, but, like, gotta wait. But, yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Okay, so for the next one, we have Herbology, and this is another bonus owl that I'll be doing. I kind of chose this one to have a nice break. This book could have easily gone also in the History of Magic, but, like, History of Magic is a class that is an owl that I'll have to take. And there is a book that fits that category that, like, I want to read, like, right now, so I put that one there. So, like, this is another one of the books where, like, it could fit in all with those ones. So this is volume 1 of Cardcaptor, Sakura. Like, I have volume 1 and 2, so, like, if I have time, I might even read volume 2, just to have another book to break with. But, like, this book fits. It's got flower petals all on it. And then, of course, like, the Sakura blossom up there. So, yeah, like I said, this one could have been in the It's Been Over 10 Years. But this one's going to be more so almost like a bonus, so I don't get overwhelmed with words. I read these years ago. I have 1 and 2, and I kind of pulled these out as a way to get myself to be like, yo, Des, maybe you should buy, like, volume 3 and 4 and then, like, clear card, and then you could just, like, read it all, instead of just, like, watching the shows, because, like, it's my favorite anime. Cardcaptors, I grew up watching, so, like, it's my favorite anime ever. Like, it just holds the rank. Even if I watch anime that I like more, Cardcaptors will always be my favorite, because that is the anime from my childhood, like, so, yeah, I'll read volume 1. It looks thick, but, like, it's, it's manga. I'll get through it pretty quickly. I usually get through it in, a sitting, so, yeah, this will be a nice little break, between some books if I need it, and I'm excited to get back into it. I know, I've been so bad, I still have not finished watching Clear Card, and I'm still so mad at myself, because I just kept forgetting to watch it. And, like, especially at the time, I just wanted to, like, play video games, too. And I can't really play video games while watching anime because subtitles. And I really need to sit down and watch it. Like, I guess maybe that'll be my goal. Sit down and watch Clear Card. Finally. Because, gosh darn, like, I love me my Cardcaptors, so, yeah. And if you don't know what Cardcaptor Sakura is, which the English title for the anime was Cardcaptors. Essentially, you have Sakura Kinemoto, and she is just, I love her. She's the protagonist, and I love her. She is a elementary school student, and one day she hears something, and she goes down into the basement amongst all of her father's books, which obviously he has all these books. He works at a college. He's a university professor. And she spots this book, and it is literally the Cloud book. And she opens it, and there's all these cards inside. And she reads the one on the front, which is the Windy card. And Sakura doesn't know she has magic, and she reads this card, and a wind picks up, and all of the cards escape. So Kiro, he is the guardian of the cards, the creature that was on the front of the cover. He comes out of the book, and he's like, what happened to all my cards? I'm now making you a Cardcaptor, and you've got to get all of them because you're the reason why they're gone. So then, of course, there's her friends, her cousin, and can I say, like, literally the romances in this series is so, like, extra. Like, there's so much happening. Like, the anime don't have everything. Like, it doesn't have everything. There's some questionable things when it comes to the romances in this manga series. I tried to ignore it because it wasn't in the anime. Yeah, so she's now a Cardcaptor. She's got to catch all of the cards, and there's an array of characters that are helping her. Of course, there's Kiro. Kiro Barros is, like, literally everything. I love him. He's one of my favorite anime characters ever. Like, he's so cute. He's small, but he's also, like, in his powerful form as a badass, and just, he likes video games and food, and I'm like, same. So I love Kiro. So, yeah. Literally, if you don't know how much that I like this, I literally, when I was a kid, I got the wand, and I got the dolls, and I got all the toys at Taco Bell when they had them, and I also have the cards. I don't have the Sakura cards or the Sakura wand, but I have the cards, the original ones they sold actually here because they're that old. I've had them since I was a child, but yeah, I love Cardcaptors, so I'm excited to reread this, so yeah. So for History of Magic, which is another OWL that I have to do, I have to read a book that was published at least 10 years ago. This one is another one, like, I could have had Cardcaptors in this category. I could have flipped these ones because this also has plants on the covers, but I want to read this next month, and so if it's a category that I have to read, I put this one in this one because I'm reading this book next month. You can't stop me. I'm reading this. This is a new one that I bought. I had never heard of it. Although, now actually having looked it up, I do actually recognize the anime. I've just never watched it. So I decided to choose The Beast Player. The translated version in English came out last year. This is the 2019 cover, and oh my god, isn't it beautiful? It's so pretty. The book itself is just so pretty. Like, there's design, like a texture on the actual cover as well. It's so pretty. But the Japanese volumes, when they came out between 2006 and 2009. So while the English version came out last year, the actual story, the book itself, has come out over 10 years ago. Like, all of them have been out 10 or more years ago. So, yeah, I will be reading this one. I'm really excited about this one. So, in The Beast Player, we have Eileen. Her family is they're in charge of caring for the water serpents of the kingdom, and some of them go missing, and because of that they put her mother to death. She's able to save her daughter, but yeah, so Eileen also has this ability. She can talk to the water serpents and then also the winged beasts that guard the queen. And the book's supposed to take place, or at least the series takes place, since she's young to when she's older, and it deals a lot with plots because she's getting dragged into that because of her abilities. There's also the whole, like, humans with war, and then, like, there's literally that, and then there's also the creatures that she guards and protects and, like, takes care of and talks to as well. So it's kind of like that whole thing going on, and it sounds like it'll be really good. I mean, it was popular enough, it got a manga series, and it also got an anime. And yeah, it's supposed to be popular in Japan, and it's like, why is no one talking about this over here? Like, this sounds amazing. Can we just all read this? Like, it sounds great. So I'm definitely going to be reading this next month for that. So this is my History of Magic pick, which might be one of the first books that I read. I'm trying to make it so I don't read this one first. Same with Once and Future, because they're not library books, so I don't have to return them. I own them, but at the same time, it's like, you could read it as soon as April starts, and it's like, no, because I gotta get to the library books first, but also at the same time, I want to read them so much. So yeah, I'm really excited for this, if you can't tell. So for Muggle Studies, this one I will definitely be reading because with my new TBR system, I like draw, books out of my box of mystery. One of the categories actually that I draw from is contemporary, so I do actually have a contemporary book that I needed to read this month. So that kind of works out. So the contemporary read that I'll be reading, which I drew from the box of mystery, is Let's Talk About Love. This is a romance, and the main character is black, biromantic, and asexual, and it talks obviously about asexuality, and like, I am here for that. Like, literally, I've heard about this book. I heard about it like, I think when it came out, and I've been meaning to read it since, but I wasn't reading a bunch. And then also they just never have it at the bookstore either. I was gonna have to order it online or something. And then the hold on Libby was also really long, and I was just in luck that the hold finally came in too, because I currently have it checked out, so once the month starts I can easily start reading that. So yeah, I can finally read that book that's been on my TBR since before I had a TBR list. Okay, so the next one, which is actually one that I'm based on my normal TBR system that I've created, I'm gonna have to get to anyway. So for potions, I will be reading A Gathering of Shadows by V. Schwab. I had to read a sequel, and this is book 2 of the series, so that all works out, and I wanted to read this month. It's been on my TBR now since last month. I read A Darker Shade of Magic, so now I can continue on with the series. This one's a little bit on the thicker side, but that's okay. I read A Darker Shade of Magic in like 2 sittings, so that's always what happens. If it's like a 5-star read, I end up reading it in like 2-3 sittings because I'm a binge reader. So yeah, this one is this one, so I'll continue on with the series. Okay, and so for lastly, which is also an all I have to do for my career chosen, we have Transfiguration, which is to read a book with sprayed edges or with a red cover. And I actually was gonna read my Owl Crate copy of Crown of Feathers this month. I'm currently about to start reading Four Dark Queens. My kind of TBR system is to read at least one Owl Crate book like per month, and I was supposed to read this one, but Four Dark Queens came, and based around all the books that I was reading in March, I was like, I want to read that one. It kind of fits more of the themes, I don't know, literally the aesthetic, the whole, literally, like, I read A Darker Shade of Magic, I read Vicious, I read One Dark Throne, kind of fit better. So then with some of the books that I wanted to read next month, this actually fit better with that. So we got some purple edges going on. So yeah, I'll be reading Crown of Feathers. So in Crown of Feathers, essentially we have these sisters. They both can talk to animals. That's that's kind of, outlawed. If the whole empire finds out, they kind of like take you and use you and stuff. But the sisters are kind of really looking forward to using their power because they want to become Phoenix Risers. Especially the main character, the main sister here. She wants to become a Phoenix Rider. And she'll kind of like do what it takes to become one. She ends up even disguising herself as a boy to get in so she can become a Phoenix Rider. The book follows a few different perspectives. Obviously there's the sisters, there's this whole sister dynamic that also is kind of ingrained in like the whole kind of empire as well, since before there were these sisters and one sister would rather her whole empire burn than to have it in the hands of her other sister. So there's bits of that as well in here. It's obviously a fantasy, and I've heard that part of it, especially the beginning's kind of slow. So I'm hoping with this category, especially since it's being one that I have to read, I'll definitely be picking up and reading it because I know I'm going to like it. It's just, I don't know, I keep wanting to read other things, so I keep putting it back. So now I have to read it. So yeah, so the last one that I'll be reading is Crown of Feathers. So yes, these are all 12 books that I have picked out for the Magical Readathon for the Owls. There are other books that I would like to get to as well this month. I'm gonna be so reading overload. It's gonna be a reading overload. So I'm gonna try to pick those graphic novels and manga and place them in as much to kind of limit it as much as I can. For the other books that I want to get to for April, those will still be in my shelf video. Just obviously this is separate, so I just won't say what books were in either one, obviously, and with the videos. You know what I'm saying. So, yeah, these are the ones that I'm going to try reading for here. If anyone's interested with other books that I'm going to try to read this month, because I apparently hate myself, those can be in my April shelf video for when I do that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'm excited for April to begin. The only reason I'm not excited is because I still have to work on my classwork before April can begin, and there's going to be some more class stuff to do in April. I only take 2 classes, but gosh darn, classwork. So, yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it for me. I'm just from Aro-Tarot, and I am logging off, so